Today we're looking at one of Tecware's new cases, the VXL Evo, a dual chamber design. With a £99 price tag, it automatically sets expectations very high. Will it meet them though? Find out after I quickly pay some bills with this sponsor message. Acer proudly presents the Nitro 16 and Nitro 17 laptops. These models feature high performance components including up to the Intel 14th generation Core i7-14700HX CPU and NVIDIA RTX 4070 laptop GPUs, ensuring high frame rates while maintaining low temperatures thanks to Nitro's liquid metal thermal grease and finely tuned fan system. With screen options offering up to a 2560x1600 resolution at 165Hz and a 3 millisecond response time, the Nitro 16 and 17 are excellent choices for those seeking a fantastic gaming experience in a portable form factor. These laptops come with a free month of Microsoft Game Pass, allowing you to enjoy some of the latest and greatest games, featuring titles such as Starfield, Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, and many others. Visit the link in the description to learn more. So here is the VXL. It's available in black and white. They also have an M80X version, which is the VXN Evo, which I'll be covering in another video. The dual chamber design is very similar to the O11, to be fair. Most companies take some inspiration from it. But we'll start at the top and then work our way around. For our I/O on the top, we have got a power button that's illuminated. There's a reset button. We've got two USB 3s, these are type A, a microphone, a headphone jack. And then we have an RGB button. This doesn't go anywhere and has no way of connecting. But thankfully the fans are 5V or addressable, so you can easily put them onto the 3-pin on the motherboard. But even on the website, Tecware say that if you want to use this button, you're going to need to get an additional adapter or a hub, which they sell separately. So it could be that Tecware are using the same ODM for this case and another company shares the design but ships it with a controller or the RGB hub that's included. But I'd like to see them actually include the hub, because having a button but not the parts to make it work feels a little bit stingy. Taking off the dust filter on the top, that's a magnetic one. We have got support for up to 360mm of fans. You can do 2140s or a 280 rad if you'd rather. At the front we've got a very clean VXL logo on the border of the glass, but that's about it. It's kept clean and simple, but I do like that. On the back of the case we've got a pre-installed 120mm fan. More on the fans when we get inside the case. Further down we've got the 7 expansion brackets, then our power supply goes on the left hand side. We'll support an ATX power supply, which is good, up to 200mm in length. On the bottom we've got the feet and then some soft pads for the surface it's going to be on. And then we have got support for up to 360mm of fans again, under a magnetic dust filter. We've got a thumb screw on the side to take off the tempered glass, not a captive one though, something I would like to see with a case of this price point. The tempered glass is a 4mm thick piece of glass, so really quite premium. Same at the front too, that's also removable, so if you want to add any components in from the front, make life a little bit easier, you can do. It does compromise the rigidity a little bit when you do take that out, so just something to bear in mind, but not to the point where it's going to be drastic or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about it. Inside the case we've got motherboard support for up to ATX, you can also do M-ATX or ITX. Where the I/O shield fits is a little bit odd, it kind of holds the shield over pushing it into place. It doesn't feel that great and I'd much rather have a traditional rectangle bit that I can really push the shield into. Also it's worth mentioning if you're going to use an ATX board, which most people will be, being this is a kind of O11 form factor, we'll need to install 3 additional standoffs. These come included in the box, but one thing that they don't include is the screwdriver adapter, which costs all of 20 cents to include in a packet of screws. And that really does honestly annoy me. Unless you have an iFixit kit with the right bit, it makes installing the standoff so much harder. You're going to have to resort to using pliers if you don't have the right bit. So I'd expect them to be missing that adapter on a $50 case, but not a £100 one. In terms of other things in the box, you get all the screws you'd expect, obviously minus the magnetic tray that I've got them on, then just some plastic and Velcro cable ties, that's it. There's no manual or quick start guide. In Tecware's defense, that might be an attempt to save paper, but it seems that there are a few manuals online, but at the time of filming there isn't one for this one yet. So I'd like some form of guide to be included, especially as I'm sure a lot of people will be a bit puzzled about the RGB button that doesn't do anything. On the right hand side of the case we have got up to 360mm of fan or radiator support. I like that they've gone to the effort of installing reverse blade fans over just regular fans installed as intakes. Saves having that back frame visible, which can be pretty ugly. In the back of the case we've also got a regular 120mm fan, but nothing really to write home about on that one. All of these fans run at a maximum of 1600 RPM onto a 3-pin header rather than a 4-pin. So that means DC power, not PWM, but they can still be controlled by the motherboard, so no real biggie or no issues there. For the test system that I have in this, I run all these at full speed, 1600 RPM, connected to a SATA to 3-pin adapter, but more on that later. In terms of support and clearance, you can do a graphics card of up to 390mm in length and then CPU towers with a maximum height of 160mm. So on the smaller side for air towers, but I think you're more than likely going to use an AIO in this kind of case anyway. I didn't intend to include this part, but I'm trying to put the screw back in for the side panel and it's not actually aligning, so I have to push it up when I do it in. couple of little touches like that bring the overall feel of the case down a little bit. Going to the back of the case, the back panel's fairly thin, more on that in a minute. There's no dust filter though, so it does mean a little bit more cleaning, but I think to allow more airflow and performance drops, I think is well worth it. You can see my cables are somewhat squashed in, but this was just a test system. I kept a little sled that you can support 2.5 inch drives on. If you're not using hard drives, but maybe just an SSD, what I'd recommend you do is take the sled out totally and then just double side tape it to the back of the case. You can tuck cables down into it, which is what I've done, but ideally the space is somewhat limited, just get rid of it if you can. There's quite a lot of cable tie points on there as well, which is obviously good to see. So if you have got a lot of cables in your system, just take your time with it. These are the cables that come off of the RGB fans. These are Omnicore fans. As you can see, mine are plugged directly into the PSU for testing, but you can just use a 3-pin on a motherboard or a 4-pin header without any problems. These are daisy chained and use a proprietary connector. From what I can find on the website, they don't sell the core fans separately. They do have Omni fans and you can get them, but they have standard connectors for power and RGB, so it's a little bit odd why these ones are different. Now, touching upon the back panel again, there's only 2 contact points where this actually clips into the case. Obviously mine is where the thumb screws are. I'd like to see a couple more points where it slots in, maybe in the middle of the case, because if you're installing quite a lot of cases, you can push it flat to install, but when you let go, it's going to bow again. So some improvements I think there would be good to see. So onto the temperature results, my conclusion. First of all, I had to film this review a little bit differently. I usually keep the case empty for the overview and then put my test system in afterwards. Let me know if you'd prefer to see it with the system in as I did this time, or if you'd like to keep it empty as I usually do. The test setup for this system is an AMD Ryzen 7 5800X3D at stock on an Asus X570 Pro Wi-Fi 2. The cooling is the Noctua NHU12A with fan speed reducers taking them down to 1600 RPM. For my temperature testing, this case gave it down to temperature of 59.2 degrees, so pretty much middle of the pack of the cases that I've tested thus far. The dual chamber ones do tend to be a little bit warmer because you've got the 90-degree airflow change to contend to, but it came out with an okay result. The reverse fans that come included actually perform quite well, be a little bit louder at full speed. This case has got some pros to it, but it certainly has teething issues as well, such as the lack of the standoff adapter is something I shouldn't have to mention at this price point. I covered a £50 Colink case before and there was one included with that, so being this is twice the price, I shouldn't have to mention it and there should be one included, no debate. The cables for the fans feel a little bit cheap, and like the lack of a manual, then the button on the top doing nothing without spending more money just brings down the otherwise premium feel that I think Tecware were going for. One thing I wrote down when I was building my system in this, that it just feels a bit rushed, like they were trying to get it out as soon as possible and that's why they missed the basic details, or that they're skimping in certain areas just to make as much money as possible. The current asking price I think is £20 or $20 too much. This case should be $79.99 or $79.99. Then it makes it fit more in line with the M80X version, as that seems to be just a smaller version with one less fan for $59.99. The $40 jump is just massive and it just doesn't really make sense, and the $20 difference between the different sizes seems about right. At the time of filming this, you can also get the non-RGB version of the NZXT H6 Flow for £89. It's the coolest case that I've tested today and feels a lot more premium at a cheaper price, so the current asking price for $99.99 for the VXL Evo just makes it hard to recommend. This is one of those rare occasions where I end on a negative, but I'm going to be nothing but honest with you guys and hope that Tecware takes it on board as constructive criticism and we can hopefully see a price reduction to bring it a little bit more in line with Tecware's other cases, let alone cases from other manufacturers. If there's anything else you'd like to know, then do leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Get subscribed and ding the bell so you can see the M80X review, because I'm sure that's going to be a bit more positive as it does come at a cheaper price point. Thank you to Tecware for sending this out for me to review. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.